Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this.
Hi Soul Tribers. Today we have an episode where we interview Coleen all about remote viewing and controlled remote viewing. I recently got into studying this just out of mostly curiosity. I had heard about it on some interview that I had watched, and I was like, whoa, what's this all about? And I was like, oh, seems like the military used to do this. What is this? And I had so many questions. And so I just literally found a course online that I could do. And I started it. Still on my infancy phase, so I'm still getting into it and kind of learning it. But I wanted to find someone to interview, and of course, nothing in life is a coincidence. I came across Coleen's website where she trains remote viewing, controlled remote viewing. So we contacted her, and we were very thankful that she was open to having an interview with us, because we had so much fun. It was so easy to talk to her. We had so much fun talking to her, and she has just amazing insight on the subject. She has a lot of experience, and she's a really fun-loving person. And it was, I mean, we even finished recording and just continued to talk to her, I think, for like another hour. It was just, there was so much to talk about. I think we could have carried on for hours, but I had to go put my child down to sleep because it was really late where I was. But thanks to Coleen for the interview, and we hope you guys enjoy it because she gives really interesting information. Also, if you're interested in learning, she teaches. And it's a tool that seems to, I mean, when I got into it, I didn't think it could be used for so many different things. I was literally just thinking you remote view one specific like picture or something, right? Like when I got into it, I didn't think it could be so broad where you could use it for so many in different ways or so many different things. So I learned that literally in the interview. So absorb the information as usual, enjoy it, and I hope it's some sort of eye-opener for you, awakening, or at least sparks your interest, because it did for me at least. Amazing. We are here with Coleen Marenich. Okay, I gotta write this down. And you are maybe I should say advanced controlled remote viewer, and you're a trainer. Is that right?
I'd say post-grad, meaning past advanced.
Perfect. So you're like above. I love it.
Above, yeah, post-grad. Yeah.
You're like the masters of the guides.
Yeah. Speaking on the spiritual side.
Okay.
All right, so I'm pretty sure that most of the people that are listening do not know what controlled remote viewing is, which we're going to call CRV for short.
Right. Yeah.
Can you kind of give us maybe an easy explanation for those that are unfamiliar with what it is?
CRV, I often refer to as a method for non-psychics. For those of us who need a little help in getting information from our subconscious. CRV is a step-by-step method that, when followed, opens a door to our subconscious, which has a connection to everything. And we are able to ask it questions about a target site, and it will provide us with information. Remote viewing is a little different. Remote viewing is a term that was adopted by many psychic practitioners when the secret U.S. military unit the CRV unit was disbanded, and the media found out about it. When they came and reported on what the unit did, the term remote viewing was used in the reports. And many psychic practitioners latched on to the term as something they did. So remote viewing in just that term can mean many kinds of psychic work. Controlled remote viewing is what was developed by Ingo Swann and taught to all the members of the secret U.S. military unit who used it to obtain intelligence information from non-allies and for many different departments in the military over the span of the unit, which I believe was over 20 years.
Wow.
So it disbanded in the mid-90s, and in the late 90s, as I listened to an Art Bell radio interview show, I heard an interview of one of the unit members. Art Bell was interviewing David Morehouse, and he had just written a book about his experience in the unit, and it was called Psychic Warrior. And I thought, wow, what an interesting idea, and what an interesting title for a book. So I listened for any information that David Morehouse could give me about the unit, what they did, how they did their work, this thing called CRV, what is it, and how do they do it? And Art Bell said to him finally, okay, David, are you telling me that CRV can be taught to anybody? And David said, yes, it can be taught to anybody. Anybody can learn how to do this. Well, I shot
It was like
out
for
of my
you the
chair.
message.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely it was a message for me. I shot out of my chair. I'm writing down the name of the book, and I go to the bookstore the next day and get it ordered, read it cover to cover. I was hooked. From that moment on, I started reading everything I could, and there wasn't a lot out just then because it had recently been disbanded. The internet was still in its infancy. So I started reading books that were created and written by scientists on non-local awareness, is what they called it, when you can perceive things that isn't in your presence. Started reading a lot of books about that because there was a science related to this. Ingo Swann worked with scientists out of the Stanford Research Institute. The scientists and Ingo Swann were the ones who developed this protocol. So I wanted to learn more about the science, how it was developed scientifically. What was the content? What was the connection between the science and the actual method? So after reading books and finding out as much information and looking for a CRV trainer, went through the same route that a lot of people did. Didn't want to put money down with anybody until I kind of tried out a few things myself. There was a couple of places on the internet that I found where, we have a target, right now, write down these numbers on a piece of paper and see what you get. And then click this button and, a photo will appear, and see if you got, close to what the photo showed. So I did that, and, didn't get much information, but what I got was correct. So that really stoked my interest even more. And then tried some other things, and it was an epic fail on other things. So I was going back and forth on whether I should pursue this. But ever since I was a teenager, I have been aware of things that other people I realized weren't aware of. And it wasn't anything I could see, but it was a lot of things I could feel. I could feel other people's energy. I could feel when they were being deceitful. I really paid attention to people's behavior, their personality traits, their energy. And it was very obvious to me what was going on with a person, but I realized other people weren't noticing the same thing I was. So I became aware that I had this ability, didn't know how to develop it, but was very, very curious how I could develop it. Also experienced slipping in time, where all of a sudden I would be in a different location in a different time period. It would only last for a few seconds, but I was definitely there. It was definitely me. I wasn't me. I was another looked differently in a completely different setting. And then I would, flash back to myself. And this is in a totally awake state. This is not in, when I'm falling asleep. This was in the middle of English class in grade 11. My teacher came up to me afterwards and said, "Are you okay?" And I had never told anybody about what I could perceive or sense. And I thought I could trust him. And I told him what had happened to me while I sat in my desk. And he said, "Well, what did you get high on your lunch hour?" And I thought,
Oh, no.
So I learned very early just to shut up, be aware, continue to be aware, but, be very careful who I say anything to. So looking for books when I was a teenager in a small town, there was either books on occult or witchcraft. I knew this wasn't any of that. And so when I moved to this big city where I live now, and all of a sudden New Age stores and New Age bookstores and all these things I could finally explore, but I didn't know how to still develop what I knew. And I was just laying in bed one night listening to Art Bell interview David Morehouse about his book Psychic Warrior, and it just poof. I just knew this is it. So
that's amazing. That was like your moment, like your wake up moment.
Definitely my wake up call. Absolutely. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I just knew. Oh, so when I finally did, along my way, trying to get training, I was lied to. I was ripped off. I was given training programs to do at home that ended up not to be remote viewing or controlled remote viewing. It had to do nothing with it. So there were some charlatans out there just waiting for people like me. I was very naive as to what controlled remote viewing was. So anybody who came to me and said, "I can make you a remote viewer," I jumped at it, right? I didn't know. I didn't know any different. But in the research that I was doing, and the more people came online, the more I started looking at all the different unit members. Then I realized, okay, maybe I should be looking at them. Lyn Buchanan's name just kept coming up. In the background, he was being mentioned a lot by a lot of people. Was in very high regard. I thought, contacted him, signed up for training. He had a training class in Toronto.
Perfect.
I flew all the way into Toronto to take my basic class, and the rest is history.
Is the basic class like 3 days, or is it?
It was a 3-day workshop, and boy, talk about brains oozing out of your ears on my plane ride back home. I couldn't even spell my name practically. There was just so much information that was given to us, and the experience of opening that door for the first time and opening it on purpose and being in control of being able to open that was such an overwhelming experience that you're just laying awake after class in your hotel room, holy cow, did that just happen? So there was all kinds of things, going on, and it was a huge pivot point in my life. I'd never had anything like that happen. It was a life-changing experience for sure, for me.
And that goes to show how we need to listen to those little messages that we get, right?
Yeah.
So important.
Definitely.
They're not coincidences. They're messages.
That's right. I learned after CRV, there's no such thing as coincidence. And I had chalked a lot of things up in my life to, coincidence. That's just, no.
So true. I have 2 questions with what you said, because unlike Lucia knows a lot more about this topic, but I'm
like a beginner. I don't know that
but
much.
Still more than me. But I'm speaking for all those people that know nothing. So you said that there's
controlled remote viewing, and then there's remote viewing.
Yeah.
So what would a psychic would be like remote viewing? So it's not controlled.
Yeah, sure. A psychic can call themselves a remote viewer, right? Any form of psychic work that can be done that actually receives or perceives information non-locally has been known as a remote viewer.
Okay. So, for example, the ones that work with the police, for example, to help find missing children, that's remote viewing.
Well, it is remote viewing, but they might prefer to call themselves a psychic or a medium.
Yeah.
But when you say to them, well, what are you actually doing? They will most likely say, nowadays, I'm remote viewing. So remote viewing can be simply imagining information. Or
like in your mind's eye.
Right. Or receiving information from whatever source you want to call your source, right? Controlled remote viewing was designed so that it could be written down for record purposes, right? And then immediately during training, you're provided with your feedback photo so you can see if you actually got the correct information. A big part of the training in CRV is providing you with feedback photos in your training so that you can see what you got, see what you didn't get, see what you have to work on, and see where your natural strengths are.
Oh,
so apparently I'm very good at target, but then I'm really bad at everything else.
Okay.
Like I literally put the little target, like I put the X on the target exactly where it's supposed to be, and I might get something right around it. But everything else around that is just like made up from my mind or something.
Because you said a target site, right? So what is a target site exactly? It's what you're supposed to be imagining or the information that's supposed to be coming into you?
It is a target site. Let's say a photo finish of a race during the Olympics. A picture was taken of two people crossing the finish line at the very same moment. That is a target site. That whole area, right, is a target site. And that is a target, a feedback photo that we give to the viewer when their session is done. And we want to know, can they sense the ambiance, the energy of the people? Can they sense what's going on? Can they sense the people? If they can they describe them? Can they describe what they're wearing? Can they describe what they're doing? Can they describe the bigger event that they're actually participating in? A lot of physical descriptors you're trained how to get a lot of physical descriptors in controlled remote viewing, as well as conceptual information in controlled remote viewing. So at the basic level, you're taught how to get basic descriptors from a target site. You're not taught to get information from the photo. We're training you to go to the site. We want to hear the sounds. We want to see the sights. We want to smell the smells. Sometimes people say remote viewing, is it just seeing? No, actually, it's a misnomer because all your senses are in play, including ambiance. All your senses are in play. You can run your fingertips across surfaces of objects or people at the target site in order to get perceptions. You can smell. You can taste. You can feel something on your cheek.
It's like you're there.
Definitely, exactly. There's a threshold that you reach at the basic level, that when you reach that, you suddenly have a 3D perception of the target. And viewers will actually start saying, there's something over to the right of me. And all of a sudden you say, well, turn to your right, run your fingertips across it and tell me what you feel. Oh, it's rough and bumpy. Oh, right.
Wow,
Okay, right.
The way they're explaining it sounds much more up my alley than the course that I've done, which is like, you're not allowed to think. You have 3 seconds to write everything, or 30 seconds to write the descriptor words down. And so I can't do my thing, which is like my Akashic Record thing where I'm like, oh, I'm feeling it. I'm seeing this. Like, I can't do any of that. So it's like, don't think, just write.
Well, a big part of trying to do anything like this, like controlled remote viewing or psychic work, is trying to recognize when information is coming from your analytical mind. That's why they're saying don't think, most likely. Because trust me, your analytical mind has been figuring out things in a nanosecond ever since you were a toddler, right? So all of a sudden you start getting perceptions in from a target. You know, it's long, it's flat, it's green, it has a texture that, you know, kind of spiky, and all of a sudden your analytical mind, it's grass, it's a lawn, it's a football field, you know, away it goes, right? And it's a very important part of your training in CRV is recognizing when analytical information starts coming in. You want to declare it, you want to write it down and say, okay, all right, okay, football field, whatever. I want to get back to the target site now and continue to perceive information.
When she said learn and declaring, it's like when you get a thought and you know that it's your mind and it's not like raw information, you have to like write it down, and it's called declaring. It's like you're saying goodbye to this idea or this thought kind of thing.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
it sounds very
aside.
much military, like, you know what I mean? It's like very, very structured, but at the same time, this whole idea of imagining yourself being, it's like using your 5 senses at the target site, which is pretty cool. And that sounds very spiritual in its own way, I guess, right?
Absolutely. This door you open up, I mean, all kinds of things start happening. And just one thing I wanted to reiterate is that Ingo Swann was not in the military. Ingo Swann was a very well-known and highly regarded psychic who had been offering himself into psychic experiments that scientists were doing in different universities across North America for decades. And he came to the attention of 2 scientists out of the Stanford Research Institute, and they said to him, listen, you know how to do this. Can you find a way to develop a method that we could train any grunt soldier so that he could get the same information you get? And it took a long time, but when he finally got it perfected and started training these guys in this unit, so it's militaristic in that they had to use it for record keeping. But remember that it was created by Ingo Swann, the method that I train.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's funny to think that the issue, maybe even up until now, like being psychic is just starting to be like a more normal thing, but it's always been this like huge taboo. And the military were doing it the whole time.
That's what I was just thinking. I was like, how?
This secret unit, for 20 years. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Imagine what other things they use. Let's not even go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, forget it. The conspiracy theorist in me becomes very content with that idea.
Oh, absolutely, right? Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, I had watched a documentary that talked about how they had mainly started it with the military to like spy on the Russians and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
That they had later on, some individuals had later on proved like drawers and things that they had seen in offices of Russian officers were like there.
Yeah.
And they saw it. They're like, oh my God, this is what they had drawn. Like, this is it. It was actually there the whole time. It's still there.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It is. The amount of detail that they were able to get was stunning. Absolutely stunning. And the cool thing about controlled remote viewing, according to the unit members, was that they could perceive information from inside an office, you know, a Russian military office, and get information that they needed there without detection. If there was a dog in the room, the dog would not alert. But they were able to get their information.
Is that a thing then? I didn't even think about that.
Well, apparently, from what I've been told, and I don't know this, other psychic work that is used in order to get information of a similar kind, dogs will alert. And
really,
they will be noticed. It will be noticed that something is going on in the room. In CRV,
Wow.
you are completely stealth.
I wonder what the difference is.
Don't know.
I wonder too. I do feel like animals are very,
In
they
tune.
perceive and they're
You
very
bet.
in tune.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
after I started training in CRV and spent the next 3 years going through intermediate and advanced, and then after that I trained as Lyn Buchanan's CRV project manager, and I developed a training course for his top level viewers to go through a training program, a 6-month, very challenging 6-month training program to help them become a better project viewer. And then I worked with Lyn as his project manager with these viewers. And then on my own, I started my own company as a CRV project manager, working with many of these viewers at the same time. Then I took a bit of a break. I was all over the place with CRV. I was mentoring, training, troubleshooting, running my own team, working with clients while I held a full-time job.
Oh, wow.
So I was spreading myself thinner and thinner as the years went on. I took a break from CRV. It felt like I'd lopped my right arm off. Walked around in quite a depressed mood for about a year because CRV had been quite so much a part of my life for 10 years.
But it like probably made you content and made you feel some like whole or in some way,
Yeah, it did. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. So when I came back and decided to continue in my CRV work, I realized that what I got the most fulfillment from was training and mentoring. So I came back not as a project manager, not doing anything of that sort, but just training and mentoring. And it's so fulfilling. I have to tell you, when I'm sitting with somebody and I'm showing them the initial stages of a CRV session and that door opens for them, and the look on their face of amazement and astonishment and aha moments, and I'm able to witness, and I'm a witness to that, I find it an honor. It's a life-changing experience for them, and I have the honor of being there with them for that experience. There's nothing like it. It's so fulfilling. So fulfilling.
What I found really interesting was that I had heard that those individuals that didn't really believe did better than those that really strongly believed, because those that didn't really believe went in thinking that they were going to get it wrong and the system's like a whole, fake thing. And they went in just expecting to get it all wrong, and I guess in a way wanting to, and they ended up getting the targets and everything, and it's like their minds were blown.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
There's no expectation, so cool. But I think that goes the same like when we teach the Akashic Records, where it was like, try to leave the expectation, like just go into it with an open mind and don't expect it to look or be a certain way, and just allow it to flow and come in. And it's the same sensation you were saying, I think, with us as well, with teaching like the Akashic Records. We love it. It's so fulfilling, and it's amazing to see people being able to benefit from it, right?
Yes.
Like, exactly. What do most of your clients or students, what do they use it for? Because, like, obviously this whole thing was created for the military and all of that. Like, what is it mostly used for now? Is it like solving crimes or?
Yes. There's in the project management work that I use, the clients that came to us needing our help were often police agencies, families of missing persons, police agencies needing help with respect to describing criminals, describing the location of weapons, describing the location of missing people, whether they were alive or not. That was a lot of the work that I did. But it's the entire gamut, anything that you can imagine. Businesses come to CRV project teams in order to get a determination when they're working on an R&D. They have maybe two prototypes of something, and they need to know a little bit about which one they should spend the most money on, the most research on, and the most time and effort on, that's going to give them the biggest ROI. So we can help them with things like that. But typically when you get into CRV, I have found the majority of people that come to me for training have it in their personality that they want to help people. And CRV allows them to manifest that, allows them to do that in a variety of ways. A lot of people in CRV have also come to CRV on their path to other things. And they take pieces of what they learn in CRV and are able to apply it in other things that they come to learn. So there's energy work, body energy work that some people use, and they use some of the techniques or protocols or tools that you learn in CRV in order to help them in their other work. So
in that case, would they train controlled remote viewing or remote viewing?
Controlled remote viewing has a lot of, in the method that you are trained to become really good at, there's ways, there's tools, if you want to call it that, there's techniques that you can use in other psychic work that help you get more or better information that, for what you're looking for. Yeah.
That makes sense. That's so cool. And I like that people are using this tool
to help people.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. If anybody comes to me for training and I get a sense, because I got that sense about people,
yeah,
that there might be something I need to talk to them about before I, put them down on the training list. I vet the students that come through. If there's any sense at all that they're going to use this for ill-gotten gain or use it for, hurting people or anything like that, they don't get on the list.
I was going to ask you about that. I was like, what if
Yep.
someone comes with like a bad intention, right? Like,
Yep.
And then you're training them with your, with this amazing gift that you have, and you're able to like really hold space for them. But at the same time, like, what are they going to do with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't get past the front door, as I say. I train everyone online. It's not like they come to my house. But if I have any sense whatsoever, even if I'm in starting training and I just get a sense that, no, they're going to use this for all the wrong reasons, that's the end of it. That's the end of it. Send them packing.
But like that you said that it can it's like there's not this rigid thing where you have to use it for this one thing. You can adapt it to whatever else you're doing.
Yes, exactly.
It seems like it's jumping at me a lot more. Like I had originally looked into it, and I don't remember why I got interested in it. But lately I've been very into aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the other day, today and yesterday, I watched Stephen Greer's like documentaries, Acknowledged, the one I watched today. And they do control remote viewing to contact the extraterrestrials and get them to kind of like show themselves. I was like, dude, this stuff is everywhere.
Yeah. It's extremely powerful. Once you've mastered CRV, and there's, graduated steps on getting better and better and more advanced and more advanced. Once you master CRV, it is an extremely powerful method or tool for you to use. I can't stress that enough. It is extremely powerful.
That sounds amazing and kind of scary. Like in a good way.
Freaky all at the same time.
No, but like, do you personally know, and this is just my curiosity, of any specific crimes that were solved, maybe that you were working on? Like, you don't have to talk about what like was discovered, but have you personally seen like amazing work done in that sense directly through the controlled remote viewing or the remote viewing?
When I was a project manager working with my own team, we did a year's worth of work on missing persons cases. And after the year was up, I started noticing some changes in the viewers' work that they presented me, that I then passed on to the police agency that we were working with. And I noticed these changes were something I'd never seen in their work before. And as I contacted them one by one, I said, what's going on here? And they said, you know what? I don't know if it's my subby or what it is, but I can't do this work anymore. Looking at what we encounter, finding people that aren't alive, I can't do this anymore. So when you do CRV, you can be very emotionally affected by what you're viewing. A couple of the cases that we worked on resulted in people's remains being found, people who have passed. There's a couple of stories in the CRV community where a CRVer would obtain information about a location of a missing person while they were still alive. And when the information was passed to that particular police agency, it wasn't acted on. And within a week or so, or days had passed, and they would find the body of the person that the CRVer had already perceived as being alive in that location if they had looked.
Oh my God.
So sad.
There's stories like that, right? And then there's other stories where CRVers hear about a missing persons case or a crime, and they do a session on it. That's what it's called, do a session on it. Get all kinds of very detailed information. One of them went to the police, into the police station, provided the information to the investigating officer, and was immediately listed as a suspect because
only the person that did it would know in their mind. Do you think that's because of the, like, maybe certain people being very close-minded about it?
Yeah.
Okay,
there's some police agencies out there where the police force is fully aware of psychic work and fully aware of the benefit of using our work. At the same time, there's a lot of people who claim they're psychics and who come to police agencies for one reason or another and provide information that the police then have to, spend time to vet, and it's total garbage. I remember,
you have to be careful, right?
Very, very careful. A woman contacted me during the year that I was working missing persons cases, and her daughter had gone missing. I think she was in her early 20s. And the police were not being very helpful. And she had recently been in touch with a psychic who said to her, pay me X amount of dollars and I'll tell you where your daughter is. And I said to the woman,
oh, come on. If I could do that and someone came to me and a missing daughter, I'd be like, no, right. I'm going to do this for you. Please.
Right. Oh. Right. So I said to the woman, here's the thing. Me, my team, Lyn Buchanan and his team, we do all this work for free. We do not charge anyone for the type of work that we do that assists a police agency in solving their cases. Not one penny passes to us. That's just criminal. Can you imagine? Holding out,
that's horrible.
I know where your daughter is. Pay me X amount. Oh, I couldn't believe it.
And that's interesting you're saying that, because we did an interview, I think it was a few months ago already, with Laura Lee, right?
I was thinking about her.
I was thinking a lot about her with all this work, because I remember her saying how she doesn't work with families directly. She works directly with the police because
Correct.
It was just... I think I don't remember her words, but it was too much, and you get too invested
attached or something.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. You're going to get information about the missing person or whatever the situation is. Do you want to stand there and speak to the mother and say, we found your daughter's remains, spread over the ditch, and are you going to do that?
No. That's
you
horrible.
give information to the person who can do something with it, right? So when you're working on cases like that, you give your information to police agencies, and that is your point of contact. If a family phones us, we say, who is your investigating officer? We call the officer and say, we'd like to offer our services if you would like to have us work with you. Some say no.
Yeah.
Some say sure.
And then some don't listen.
And then some get our reports and toss it in the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
That's awful.
And then others look at our report and follow up on it and, wow, look at what they get,
It
what
must
they
be
did.
astonishing. Like,
Yeah.
It must open your eyes, especially if you're, imagine all the work that they do to like investigate certain cases and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden you can have someone do like a controlled remote viewing and find all this information without even going to the physical place. Like,
Yep.
whoa, mind blown. Like they must be like, no, this must be a hoax. Like they must have something to do with it. Like,
Sure.
I can
Everybody
understand
has
that.
Yeah. Everybody has their bias, right? And police officers are the same. Some are open to the idea and, sure, bring it on. We'll take a look at it. And others, no.
That's why you should give them the speech. The military were doing it and you're not accepting it?
Really? I mean, what do you have to do? Hit them over there with it? Yeah.
Come on, man. They were doing it to the Russians. You still can't accept it? You're far
But
behind.
that's so cool though, that they're able, like you guys are able to help.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Solve cases and maybe find people. Like that's just
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah.
On a lighter note, do you have any like really nice personal experiences? Like you used it for something, I don't know, or you had a really good personal experience doing a remote viewing that you could you like think about or remember every once in a while and go, oh, that was awesome or something.
There's, I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of practice sessions. And there's been other work that I've done for clients that I can't speak about. I can't even generalize about them. But in the practice work that I did, honing my skill and trying to get better and better at what I was doing, there was one experience I had that wasn't so pleasant in CRV, and I put the paper down and did not come back to my desk for almost 5 months, and quite concerned that I couldn't do it anymore because of the break. I was just out of basic for about half a year. And I sat down and I very nervously did a session and pulled out the feedback photo and scored my session against the feedback photo. And I had 100%. And I'd never had that before.
Wow.
And all the way up to the time that I sat down at the desk, I had been talking to myself, saying, show me a sign I can do this. Show me a sign that I'm still going to be able to do this because of the experience I'd had, which was quite awful. Show me that I'm supposed to stay with this. So we did that first session, 100%. 2 days later, sat down, did a new session, pulled back the feedback photo, 100%. I just remember tears just pouring down my face because I knew this was something I was supposed to do. I just knew from the moment I heard Art Bell interview David Morehouse. This experience I had, I won't get into it here, but it was bad enough that it was going to take me off the track of doing CRV ever again. But I brought myself back on and challenged myself, no matter how afraid I was, to continue doing this. I was going to sit down and try to do a session and just see if a sign was going to come to me that I should continue. If I got 0, it would tell me, no, you're done. You're not supposed to do this anymore. And I got 100% twice in a row. And I just remember sobbing in my chair and just looking up and saying, thank you, thank you, thank you for this sign. So that was one of the most profound experiences I've ever had. It was very emotional for me. And other experiences are, fun things that I experienced when I was in a session. Things that astonished me when I pulled out the feedback photo and looked at the feedback photo, and I could see the detailed information that I perceived, and it was just, wow. Like, you have these aha moments even when you're, 3 or 4 years in, you're looking at your work going, holy cow, that's amazing. That's, just, yeah, it's astounding what you can get in CRV. It's astounding.
That's amazing.
On my website, there is a sketch of a building, kind of a 3-tier building. And that's a session that another viewer did that worked on my team. She didn't know what she was working on, had no idea what she was working on. And that's the premise. When you do CRV session work, you are never told what the target is ahead of time. And she sketched out this 3-tier building, and she put the little doors on it and everything. And the feedback photo was a Mormon temple in my province. And you hold up the two side by side. It was just like stunning. So
amazing.
Wow.
You have these aha moments with these other viewers and yourself the whole time. And it's so invigorating and just keeps you really enthused in continuing and doing your work.
But that's so cool because it was a building, right? But it could have been a person. It could have been a situation. It could have been anything. It's
One
like
of the
you literally have
I
no
did
clues.
was like an animal and a person. And I actually didn't draw the animal, but I drew like the layout of the animal. I'm like, wow. And that was like right next to the target. That was the only thing I got right. But I'm like, wow, I got the kind of the structure of the animal. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah.
It is. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And then so that would be basic. Like doing for it to be like with because the way they show it is like they do the number on the envelope with a picture inside, right? And your remote viewing, or the way I was taught, you remote view into that envelope. It's a picture. Well, but then how do you go from there to a place?
You don't remote view the picture in the envelope. You remote view the place the photo was taken.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
And so there's some remote viewing trainers out there who train you to view the photo. And when you do that, you get a lot of descriptive information, but you don't get any senses. You don't smell, you don't hear, you don't
That makes
taste.
sense why I didn't get that. I was supposed to write down like smells and like excitement or enthusiasm or whatever descriptor word of the environment. So that makes sense. That's why when you were talking about smells and scents, I'm like, I wonder how much. I don't. I was kind of confused about it. Okay.
Yeah. So in CRV, there's it can be a tendency of basic viewers that they will view the feedback photo and describe it, the colors, the shapes. This is next to this, and they will write that down on their session work. And what they've done is they've gone forward in time to when they pull the feedback photo out of the envelope. Right? They've gone forward to that moment. They've gone forward to that moment.
It's not that they're going to the moment the picture was taken then.
Correct. And in CRV, you're trained to go back to the target site when the photo was snapped, right? And that's what you're viewing. It's the whole site. Back in time, not forward to when you pull the feedback photo out of the envelope.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And that's why you can get, it's everything, right? The cool thing about CRV, here's an experience for you. I was in intermediate class and I was working a session, and the lady across the table from me was acting as my monitor. And I kept going,
what's a monitor?
A monitor is a person who watches you do your session work and helps you cue your subby for more information.
Oh, you're another level now. I don't know what this is.
Okay. At any rate, Lyn could see me going, my monitor was like, what is she doing? She didn't know what I was doing. Lyn came over and said to me, what's going on? And I said, I don't know. Stuff is like going by so fast, I can't see what I'm supposed to perceive. And he said, well, stop time. I said, what? He said, well, stop time at the target site and describe what you see. I said, I can do that? He said, yeah, you can do that. So I cued my subby, stop time at the target site and let me describe. So away I went, writing all this stuff down. I'm like, holy cow, this is the coolest thing I've ever done.
That's so cool.
And then I said to him after he came back, I said, now what? He said, move forward a minute in time and describe the difference. I was like, okay.
So it's kind of like you're time traveling too?
You can move in time and you can move in location. In CRV, I can go to a target site. I can describe everything around it. And then I can cue my subby, move a half mile west and tell me what's there.
Wow.
You can also say,
the future of
move
your
to
life?
the target site a day before the photo was taken and tell me what's there. You can move in time and in space.
Wow.
In CRV. And you're trained to do that. When you're learning how to do it, you often slip in time. You'll go to a target site and you'll pull out the feedback photo and it'll be like, oh, okay, I barely got anything here. And then you do a little more research and you realize that a day before, a whole bunch of things happened at that same target site and you viewed almost everything from that site. So you're trained to go to a target site, stay there in time, and stay there in location until you tell your subby to move. So you train your subby, move in time or move in location.
What is a subby exactly? Sorry, I think I missed that.
Well, I call it subconscious. Sorry, it's a short term of subconscious. Now, it's just my term. When you open this door to get information, you open the door to your subconscious, which in turn has a connection to everything. And you cue your subby to move around a target site, move to the man-made, move to the person, move to the water aspect. You cue it to go where you want it to provide you with information from the target site. You don't know what's there first. You don't know what's there. But at the very beginning of your session, your subby actually produces a squiggle. Have you done ideograms yet? Yeah.
Yeah, so you have,
Squiggle.
what is it, like 3 seconds? What do you have, like 3 seconds go really fast?
Well, that's in your training. Yes.
Yeah.
That's at Ed Dame's training. Sorry. Right. When I'm teaching my students, I get them working on creating a set of ideograms for themselves a month before they start their training. It's integral. It's the most important part to any session work, is at the very beginning of your session, your subby provides a squiggle to you, and when you dissect that squiggle and study it, it will tell you, oh, that is for water, that means there's land, and this means there's something biological there.
Wow.
So
I remember the person was like a loop, like that.
yeah, every person has an individual set of ideograms, right? Right?
Yeah, because is that your subconscious coming through with that?
Yeah, exactly. That's your subconscious at the very beginning saying, okay, there's water. So there's water, there's land, and there's a biological.
Well, there's an animal?
Or an animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, the biological can be animal, human, all of that, right?
Okay. That makes sense.
So then you say to the subby at the beginning of your session, well, go to the biological and describe. Oh, it's fuzzy, it's brown, it's got a flat back, it lands on 4 legs. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is pretty intense. Like all this, it's so cool that you can train people to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Like anyone.
Anyone. And it's so simple to learn because it's a step-by-step process. Once you've figured out the steps, once you remember what the steps are and the sequence of them, you can do it over and over and over and over again, and then it just becomes, by rote. It's it's very easy to learn because it's a step-by-step method that anybody can learn.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'd asked you before, have you ever like used it in your personal life and gone forward, like, I wonder how well it's going to go in my life, and let's go forward.
You know, what's interesting for me in the CRV work that I've done is that if I try to do CRV work on my own future, there's so much bias on my
That makes
part,
sense. Yeah.
right? On what I might want it to be, what I might wish it to be secretly, that an awful lot of the information I get is polluted, they call it. It's not really. So if I want to know that kind of stuff, I go to a fellow remote viewer, right, and ask them to do that kind of work for me. Or I've got a really good friend who does a lot of tarot reading. I go to her and get that kind of information. But as far as how it's helped me personally, how it's changed my life, I call it a pivot point from CRV to my previous life. Dreams started changing to the point where I was having premonition dreams, precognition, where I had events happen in my dreams that actually happened in everyday life. When I woke up, they would happen within a day or two. I had precognition happen to me all the time with respect to events that would either harm my life or someone I was with, their life. For example, I was at an outdoor picnic with an extended family gathering, and I found myself getting up out of my chair and going straight over to where one of my aunts was sitting. I didn't even know what was going on, why I was all of a sudden approaching her very quickly, only to find when I got to her is that she was choking in such a way that she couldn't take a breath. And she was holding her throat, and her eyes were like, oh my God, I can't breathe, kind of thing. I just walked straight behind her, gave her, the Heimlich maneuver, and out, came what she was choking on. And after she got her breath, she looked at me and she said, you were way over there, like 30 feet away. How did you know this was happening to me? Well, I can't even describe it, but I have had experiences like that I know when something bad's going to happen to me, and I know when something bad's going to happen to somebody around me. And sure enough, I can do whatever it needs to happen so that they're okay and I'm
Note to self, invite Coleen to every party I've ever gone to for the rest of my life.
In case something bad happens, she's there.
In case something bad happens. Right.
Wow.
So there's a lot of precognition, a lot of premonition, people call it. A lot of that was going on. Standing in an elevator dock where there's 6 elevators. I would be, texting on my phone or whatever, and all of a sudden I just feel myself drifting over and standing in front of a particular elevator. And in 10 seconds, that elevator came.
Wow.
So, things like that. I'm now, the awareness that I had of people before when I was a teenager is like.
So it's like it helped you wake that stuff up or connect with it better?
Yes, the premonition, especially the precognitive dreams, the premonition, the heightened sense of ambiance. Being in a restaurant with a bunch of girlfriends and all of a sudden feeling the whole room change. I will feel that as it's happening while everybody is still chattering and chittering away and the waiters are coming and going. I'll start looking around the restaurant to see what just changed the ambiance, what just caused that. And all of a sudden my sights will land on a couple that are arguing at a table and it's getting out of hand. And I didn't notice it up until the moment I could feel the energy in the room change. I didn't hear them yelling. There was no screaming. There was nothing like that. But I can feel the energy of a room change, ambiance.
I love that story because that goes to show you how energy levels of others around us affect us. Like,
oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Lyn, in his training, talks about ambiance, the awareness of ambiance at a target site. There was a target that I did, and I remember looking up and saying to my monitor, we're not supposed to be here. We're not supposed to be here. And the hair's going up on my arm as I'm
Oh
saying
man,
that,
we know
'cause
what that is. Yeah.
I remember the target. And when we pulled it out of the envelope, the target was somebody had snuck up in the dark to the fence work around Area 51, where the sign says you will be basically, shot if you proceed further past this spot. They'd taken a picture in the dark of that sign, and that was my target site. But man, the ambiance
That's
there.
crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
we're not supposed to be here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always say like when we get goosebumps when we're channeling, it's like a confirmation for
Confirmation.
sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I had a
Jeez.
session once where writing down information, and I'm getting a real happy feeling at the target, and there's glee. I kept writing down glee, like who feels glee? That's glee, like wow. And then all of a sudden this huge smell of wet dog. Do you know the smell I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Wet dog, unmistakable smell. Like, oh my God,
Yes.
okay, wet dog smell. I don't know what that is. Oh man, it took forever for it to go away. But this glee, this proud feeling, this glee, and I thought, what the heck is this? Open up the feedback photo, and it's a guy walking his golden lab across a street, and this lab had the biggest grin on his face and was just prancing beside his owner. And
You got to feel what the dog felt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's so sweet.
It was amazing. That was like, wow.
Yeah. Wow. I have a question, and I know it's probably not within the ones that we had kind of pre-discussed, but because you said you're, and this kind of the idea of you being able to know when something bad's going to happen. I kind of like that. So I was like, okay, do you sense anything for this year of like what's been happening in the world? Is that something like you can remote view or control remote view? Like what's going to happen for the rest of the year? Because we personally, just so you know, we see a lot of like we just think this is the beginning. Like this is just the beginning of what's happening in the world, and there's a big awakening happening. But and I'm getting goosebumps just saying that, like July, some people are saying September, like things are going to get worse, quote unquote worse, because we haven't fully, like this is just a test that we've been put through right now. Have you gotten any messages with that?
I haven't gone looking for them either. What's happening right now, and the severity of what's happening right now, I know is affecting our collective psyche, spirit, whatever you'd like to call it, much more than we are aware it is. And for people who aren't like us, who aren't in connection with their spirit, their subconscious on a regular basis, people who are not familiar with being able to be sensitive to this kind of thing, don't realize how much this is actually affecting them. What you're seeing, the protesting, the marches, the things, I'm not sure if it's happening where you're living, but what's going on in the States right now, and to a lesser degree in Canada, in relation to George Floyd's dying at the hands of police, it has sparked something that has caused what's happening, because all of what's happening is affecting us at such a deep level, and people are just, it's a knee-jerk reaction. They don't even realize where it's coming from, but they know it's coming from somewhere that they are feeling like it's coming from their soul. And it is. It is. There's, like you say, an awakening. I'm not sure.
Lou's gotten some messages with it as well, like the ancestral. The ancestral stuff.
I saw your webcast that you did a week ago.
Yeah,
Lou, where I sat on the edge of my seat with my eyebrows raised, watching you, because you looked quite concerned.
That was a really hard day for me.
Oh my
They had
gosh.
I woke up in the morning and they were on my neck. It was like the masters were here and they were pushing me to talk and they were pushing me to talk. And I had been avoiding it for a few days. I was like, no one wants to hear from me. What is it? Forget it. I'm going to say anything. And it was just that day. Oh my God. And then when I started channeling, I obviously had my Akashic records open. So I started with my tarot cards. I slowly got myself into it because I was not mentally prepared to talk. And then once they saw me, I started talking. Then they started pushing this through and I felt concerned. I didn't rewatch it. I don't want to rewatch it. I felt very concerned.
Yeah, you could tell from my watching you and getting a sense of your energy that day. You looked very concerned. One thing that I've had very strong for a couple of months now is a sense of foreboding. And at first I thought, well, this is a little bit after, kind of missed the mark as far as timing is concerned. We're right in the middle of this, and now I feel a sense of foreboding. And then I started thinking, hang on here. This is telling me that something worse is coming. That we are thinking we're dealing with this the best we can, and yet there's something more coming. There's something more. I have this sense of foreboding.
Yeah, me too. And Lorena too, and a lot of people we've had on the podcast that have, some people are tarot readers, some people like you, remote viewers, people are astrologiers.
Right. Yeah.
So everybody's getting it in their own channeled way. But you know what Lorena and I were talking about yesterday, the word normal's triggering us so much. Nothing else is triggering me now except for hearing people go, it's going to go back to normal. It will be normal.
No.
We're not supposed to go back to normal.
No, it's supposed to, we're going to, it will become a huge change, a huge adjustment for all of us. There won't be anything normal about it.
Yeah.
And I cannot foresee how far it's going to go, but I have a sense in the near future, it's not over. And the outrage that has been sparked by things that are happening in the States and how that has carried all the way around the planet, that's coming because we're affected by this a lot more than we realize.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree
at a deeper level.
Yeah.
And the whole we're in a collective, we're all affected. Like you were saying, the energy of the room. Yeah. That affects everybody. And
absolutely.
You could be on the other side of the planet and you'll be sensing things that a group of people are feeling somewhere totally different. And I think people aren't awake to that. People like we are already on the path or semi on the path know it. But I think the people that aren't, they haven't gotten that yet.
Exactly. But at the same time, they're affected by it. Mm-hmm. And they don't realize it.
Yeah, they don't realize it.
No, yeah, completely. Yeah. There's no way you can't be affected by it.
Yes, I know. It's a really difficult time right now.
Yeah, I think we just all need to brace ourselves because I think things are coming. And like Lucia and I we recorded our own podcast, like an episode with us, just us two, channeling some information. And it was like, we don't want to worry people, but it's like you need to be spiritually, mentally, physically prepared for all this stuff because it's not going to be light. It's not going to be, it's going to be something we need to be strong for. So that's preparation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Even just being aware. Mm-hmm. If people don't want to believe, but it would be good if they were just still aware.
I agree.
So that down the road, as things start, getting worse, they will think back and, oh man, I was told about that, and at some level they will have prepared themselves. You would hope.
Yeah. You would hope. The masters are saying a lot, when this first started, I kept finding myself being told to repeat, go in, go in, go in. So they're trying to get people that are not fully aware of what they really are to start going in and going, what do I feel? Okay, let's let go of feelings that no longer suit me. Now it's time to question, what am I? What am I really? Am I just these feelings? Am I just this life that I've been living? So they kept asking people to go in, But then they took it to the next level and they were saying like, okay, now it's time to work on your vibration. It's like it was all these steps, little steps that they got us repeating. And it was work on your vibration, keep your vibration high, keep your vibration, leveled out. And then now it's going to the next step for me, which is like kind of that day where I got that message where I was pushing. And then overall, the whole thing that came after the end of that week was like, those that are not going to be able to align will probably not stay. And that was like the biggest thing that I felt. And I was like, people need to like wake up, man. Like, for your own good.
I watched with great interest your 2 podcasts, the first day and then the one after. And what struck me was your comment about time. My husband has always said to me, the most important thing in life is time. The time that you spend with people, the time that you are connected with people. Time is, and the way you put it in your podcast, that really struck a remembrance with me from what my husband has said for himself.
They're talking more about time now because our episode that comes out Monday, well, by the time this one comes out, it already came out, but the one that comes out for us now Monday, they made us do this episode also, and it's about how time's actually accelerating. And it's like this, they showed it to me as a spiral, right? And so not only is your time very valuable, also your time is actually accelerating. So now it has even more value. Yeah. Every second of your life has even more value. So go in, kind of thing is what they're saying.
Yeah.
So true though.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I don't know if there's any more questions that you have or any other stories you want to tell us.
I think we're done.
I think it feels good. I feel like we're in a good spot right now.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Well, just so people know that you teach basic, intermediate, and advanced, right?
Yeah.
And are you doing that like with our situation now? Are you doing it via Zoom? Can you do that from a distance?
Yes. I've done this for the last 5 years by Zoom. Initially it was Skype, and then I moved over to Zoom. So it doesn't matter where you are on the planet. I've had students as far away as Australia, Iceland, a lot from Europe, of course, North America. I don't get very many from South America. And
we're your first. We will be your first.
Oh, that would be wonderful. And I have a very different training program. It's not a workshop style. It's a one-on-one. And it's over a series of 6 weeks. And it's organized so that it fits your time schedule if you're a student. But we try to get all the lessons done within 6 weeks. And everything's done by Zoom.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then do you do like sessions? Like if someone's like, oh, I need remote viewing on this issue, can they also do that with you?
They can. Very often I've passed that on to other viewers instead of me. There's CRVers that were trained by Lyn Buchanan that are all over the place, and they've continued to work on their session work far beyond what I have, and are just excellent viewers. And so when somebody needs something done in that regard, I pass them on to other people.
Okay, but they can get in touch with you for that. That would be
absolutely.
Good.
But what kind of thing do they come? Like I can't think in my mind besides like obviously missing person. What kind of thing would you go to a remote viewer to get?
Anything from business decisions that you have to make, missing persons. Sometimes people want to know a personal. What path should I take? I've got an option to go here or go there. I want to know where will I be more happy in 2 years from now, and we can view that for you and determine where you are, what you're doing in 2 years' time, and whether you're happy. We can do that on both sides, on both options for you, that kind of thing. Information of any kind that you want from any location in time.
Maybe if you like lost something, like I lost my wedding ring or something, you know what I mean?
Some people come to us, I lost my keys, and I say they're in a box, and they say, well, which one? I said, well, you know your house better than I can, but they're in a box. There was another lady, I said, what was she missing? She was missing her mail key. her mailbox key. And I said, it's somewhere where you don't realize it has gone because it slipped down behind. And you don't know, you didn't realize it as it happened. She said, I've torn my living room apart. Well, about 3 weeks later, I found it. I said, where? She said, well, it slid behind my mattress in my bedroom. I said,
What?
oh, really? Okay.
That makes sense. Oh.
Yeah, so stuff like that. Yeah.
That's
Okay,
funny.
so pretty much anything.
Like, should I marry this person? Will we end up divorced?
Yeah, not so much, because you can take information that we give you and then you can change it.
Yeah.
Of course, there's free will.
Yes, there's free will, right?
We love talking about that.
Yes, I've noticed.
A lot.
Yeah, in basic training, you learn that your subby, at the very beginning, your subby has a lot of free will to go wherever it wants and get whatever it wants from a target site. It kind of runs around a target site like a kid with in the candy store. So, yeah.
Is there no karmic, like, repercussions from going into someone's personal space and remote viewing something of their personal area?
People would say, because we're all connected, that every time you view a target site that has a personal connection to somebody, you are affecting it in some way, because we are all connected, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That will make sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, it's been
it was amazing talking to you.
I learned a lot.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome.
We're gonna
put
we're gonna put all your information in the show notes.
Okay.
And like, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, they'll know how to get in touch with you.
Good. Yeah.
And we'll definitely stay in touch with you to possibly study or something.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
I would love to do that with you. Definitely.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed that episode with Coleen. Coleen, thank you so much for coming on. We really had so much fun talking to you. It was amazing, and learning more about remote viewing and all of that. It was just super insightful, and we're so glad that you came on to talk about this subject, because you really are so knowledgeable on this and really have so much information. So definitely, anyone that's listening to this that wants to share this with anybody, please do so. That's going to help the podcast. It's going to help Coleen as well. And yeah, if you guys are interested in knowing more about remote viewing, feel free to reach out to her. All of our information will be in the show notes. I'm going to invite everybody to follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is @soul_tribe_podcast. We also have a Facebook page, so look us up there. All of this information will be in the show notes, so you can find us there. And yeah, we hope you guys have a great week. And please make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And if you feel called to leave a rating and review on iTunes, we would really appreciate that. And it would help us get our podcast out to more ears. So have a great week, and we'll see you next week, guys. Bye.